Every commercial flight begins with a choreography most passengers never notice. Boarding always happens from the left side of the aircraft, a seemingly random choice that is, in fact, rooted in decades of engineering logic and operational strategy. Pilots sit on the left, which gives them a better view of the jet bridge alignment. Meanwhile, the right side is reserved for ground operations, fueling, loading cargo, catering, and pumping out waste tanks. By isolating boarding on one side, airlines prevent passengers from wandering into areas where fuel trucks and belt loaders are moving. It is a subtle design decision that makes the entire turnaround process safer, faster, and insurable. Every saved minute at the gate is revenue. Seat choice, often dismissed as personal preference, is another invisible battlefield of airline economics. Passengers who choose front row seats can disembark quickly, shaving minutes off tight connections, which indirectly helps airlines maintain on-time metrics. Middle seats, though unpopular, experience less turbulence because they are closer to the aircraft's center of gravity, reducing passenger motion discomfort. Aisle seats near emergency exits offer extra legroom and appeal to tall or business travelers, which is why they are often monetized as preferred seats with added fees. Ironically, the rear seats, long seen as undesirable, have the highest survival rates in crashes, something airlines rarely mention. Behavioral analysts inside airlines know this data, yet they market seat selection more around comfort than safety, steering customers toward revenue-optimized choices. One of the smartest survival habits is to count the number of rows between your seat and the nearest exit. In low visibility, fire, smoke, or darkness, passengers instinctively crawl rather than walk, and vision becomes useless. Knowing the row count allows you to navigate by touch. Cabin crew are trained to count these distances from memory, and studies after several evacuations showed that passengers who did the same exited up to 40% faster. From an airline's perspective, faster evacuations mean fewer fatalities, lower liability costs, and quicker aircraft recovery, which can save millions. Before takeoff, passengers often wonder why the plane sometimes sits idling, waiting even though the runway looks empty. The reason is jet wash and wingtip vortices, the violent spirals of air left behind by departing aircraft. They can linger for up to 3 minutes, powerful enough to flip a small jet. Air traffic controllers calculate wake turbulence categories and enforce mandatory separation times, even if that makes the runway appear quiet. It's not inefficiency, it's risk management. Airlines support these enforced gaps because a single wake turbulence incident could ground an aircraft for months and destroy public trust. Inside the cockpit, responsibility is split with surgical precision. The captain, always left seat, and first officer alternate roles between pilot flying and pilot monitoring each leg. This rotation prevents fatigue and keeps both pilots equally sharp. A lesser-known rule, they eat different meals. It's not courtesy, it's contamination control. If one meal is spoiled and causes food poisoning, only one pilot is affected, ensuring the other can continue safely. This is part of a broader risk diversification strategy airlines quietly enforce, alongside rest requirements and simulator checks, to keep crews resilient on ultra-tight rosters. In purely economic terms, a healthy crew is cheaper than a canceled flight. Once airborne, most of the work shifts to automation, but not in the way most passengers imagine. Autopilot doesn't fly the whole plane. It executes precise inputs along pre-planned waypoints, allowing pilots to monitor systems and anticipate weather, fuel burn, and air traffic changes. Modern flight management systems cross-link with air traffic control networks to constantly recalculate fuel efficiency, especially during climb and initial cruise, where burn is highest. This is why takeoff profiles are steep. Airlines push to reach thinner air faster, cutting drag and costs. Even the seating layout affects this. Extra weight in the front cabin can slightly change rotation angles, which performance engineers model down to fractions of a degree. Every aspect of takeoff is a fuel equation. Passengers are often told to turn off phones and switch to airplane mode, which sounds like a dated ritual. In reality, it's less about interference and more about spectrum congestion. Hundreds of phones trying to connect at once during climb can flood local cell towers, and regulatory fines for interference are steep. Opening window shades during takeoff isn't superstition either. It gives crew a clear external view in case of fire or collision during abort. It's all about reaction time. Seeing trouble seconds earlier can mean the difference between evacuation and catastrophe. Even the dim cabin lights are part of this logic, allowing passengers' eyes to adjust in case they must find exit signs in smoke or darkness. Underneath the passenger experience lies a ruthless strategic logic. Boarding and takeoff are the costliest, riskiest phases of flight, and airlines have reshaped them into hyper-efficient assembly lines. Gates are scheduled down to the minute. Turnaround teams coordinate fueling, catering, cleaning, and baggage like a pit crew. Delays at departure compound exponentially across the network, burning slots and triggering compensation penalties. By streamlining boarding to one door, monetizing seat selection, and engineering takeoff profiles for fuel efficiency, airlines shave minutes that translate directly into margin. Every step you see, and many you don't, has been refined not just for safety, but for profit. So the next time you walk down the jet bridge and glance left into the cockpit, know this: nothing about boarding and takeoff is casual. From which side you enter to where you sit to when the wheels leave the ground, you are inside one of the most optimized systems on Earth, built to launch you safely, precisely, and profitably into the sky. Once airborne, the world outside the cabin window stops looking intuitive. Passengers glance at the flight map and wonder why the path from New York City to Tokyo looks like a giant arc curving north over Alaska, instead of a straight line. The reason is the geometry of the planet. Because Earth is spherical, the shortest distance between 2 points is not a straight line on a flat map, but a curve called a great circle. Airlines meticulously plot their long-haul routes along these arcs to shave hundreds of nautical miles off each journey. That translates into less fuel, lower emissions, and lower costs. Critical factors when a single wide-body jet can burn over $15,000 worth of fuel on one transoceanic flight. This is why flight paths often look counterintuitive. They're not mistakes, they're cost-optimized math. Each of these invisible arcs is broken down into dozens of waypoints, alphanumeric beacons scattered across the skies. These are the skeleton of global air traffic. Aircraft navigate by hopping from one waypoint to the next, constantly cross-checking their position using radio navigation aids, GPS satellites, and inertial systems. Air traffic control, ATC, uses the same grid to sequence traffic and maintain separation. From the cabin, it looks effortless, but behind the scenes, this choreography is managed by advanced scheduling algorithms. Airlines file detailed flight plans hours before departure. Then their operations control centers watch the route unfold in real time, making micro adjustments for winds, weather systems, and congestion. The goal isn't just safety, it's schedule integrity. A delayed flight can cascade across an airline's network, stranding aircraft and crew, which is why airlines invest millions in predictive dispatch software to anticipate and reroute around disruption before passengers even know there's a problem. Even descent planning is an economic decision. Pilots begin calculating their top of descent, TOD, often halfway through the flight, factoring altitude, distance, wind, and required speed restrictions. A smooth, continuous descent, called idle descent, lets engines run near idle thrust, saving fuel. Abrupt stair-step descents, often caused by congestion, burn far more fuel and require more braking, wearing down parts. Airlines track these descent profiles obsessively. Shaving just 50 kilograms of fuel from each landing across an entire fleet saves millions annually. For pilots, this isn't just about flying well, it's about flying profitably. While most passengers assume takeoff and landing are the only dangerous moments, flight safety experts know the cruise phase hides its own risks. The cockpit may appear calm, but pilots are constantly monitoring systems for subtle anomalies. Electrical load imbalances, pressurization trends, vibration signatures from engines. They cross-check instruments, weather radar, and data link messages while staying in constant contact with ATC. This redundancy is strategic. Humans catch what automation misses. Airlines deliberately design these overlapping safety layers to prevent a single-point failure from spiraling into catastrophe. In commercial terms, this also protects their brand. A major incident can erase years of profitability, so carriers see operational safety not as a cost center, but as brand equity.
Easy does it.
Even the rules that seem trivial
Watch your
have
hands.
hard logic behind them. Passengers are asked to fasten their seatbelts across the waist, not the stomach, because a lap belt anchors to the pelvis, the strongest bone structure, while shoulder restraints would be ineffective without a hard seat back. It's a compromise between crash survivability and cabin efficiency. Likewise, cabin lights are kept dim during night takeoffs, and landings not for ambience, but to let passengers' eyes adapt in case they must evacuate in darkness. Window shades must stay open for situational awareness. Flight attendants are trained to scan outside for fire, debris, or fuel leaks during critical phases, and they need a clear line of sight. These procedures might seem ceremonial, but they are drilled into crews through rigorous, recurrent training and safety audits. Airlines treat them as essential operational discipline because a single overlooked cue can snowball into disaster. Cabin conditions are engineered with equal precision. The air is kept cool, often around 20 degrees, not to make passengers uncomfortable, but to counteract the natural heat generated by hundreds of bodies and electronics. Cooler cabins reduce fainting incidents, which can cause costly diversions. The air is also extremely dry, often less than 20% humidity, because moisture breeds mold and hidden ducting and electronics. This dryness contributes to dehydration, headaches, and the dull taste of airline food. Airlines have experimented with humidifiers, but they add weight, complexity, and maintenance cost, which erodes fuel efficiency. Instead, many now preload more flavorful or salt-enhanced meals to compensate for passengers' muted taste buds. Even the food strategy ties back to operations, satisfy passengers enough to reduce complaints, and keep crews focused on efficiency, not service recovery. Phone restrictions, long seen as outdated, also serve a deeper operational logic. When hundreds of phones attempt to connect during climb, they can overwhelm ground cell networks, triggering interference alerts and regulatory fines. More importantly, airlines don't want cockpit crews distracted by troubleshooting passenger electronics during critical phases. Airplane mode removes that variable entirely, protecting the sterile cockpit period where pilots must focus exclusively on flying. It's not about fear of crashing from radio waves. It's about eliminating distractions that could snowball into human error. Beneath all these rituals lies a business truth. What passengers experience as safety theater is, to airlines, a finely tuned risk and cost management system. Flight operations are structured to eliminate randomness. Routes are curved to cut fuel. Descents are optimized to preserve brakes. Cabins are chilled to prevent medical events. Lights are dimmed to shave seconds off evacuations. Everything is timed, measured, and reviewed, not just for safety, but for schedule reliability, because every on-time arrival protects gate slots, crew rotations, and aircraft utilization, which directly drive revenue. So when you watch the world slide by beneath the wing and the cabin seems calm, understand this, that calm is manufactured. Every switch flipped, every waypoint crossed, every seatbelt fastened low across the hips is part of a system built not only to keep you alive, but to keep the airline profitable while doing it. Modern airliners look sleek, almost effortless, but their design is the product of relentless optimization. Every curve, color, and bolt calculated not just for safety, but for cost and operational strategy. Even the color white, which covers most of the world's fleets, isn't about aesthetics. White paint reflects sunlight, reducing heat absorption on the tarmac and protecting sensitive avionics from temperature swings. It also reveals cracks, corrosion, and fluid leaks faster during inspections. Less repainting means less downtime. Each day an aircraft sits in a hangar can cost an airline over $100,000 in lost revenue. White makes jets lighter too. Colored paints add dozens of kilograms over an entire fuselage, which multiplies fuel burn across thousands of flights. In short, the plain white plane is a financial instrument. Window design hides similar trade-offs. Passengers often assume the round windows are for style, but the shape is about structural integrity. Early jets like the de Havilland Comet used square windows and several disintegrated midair because stress concentrated at the corners. Modern oval frames spread pressure evenly, preventing metal fatigue. The tiny bleed hole at the bottom of each window is another quiet innovation. It equalizes pressure between the outer and inner panes, ensuring the outer pane carries the structural load. This redundancy prevents catastrophic blowouts and allows quick pane replacements, lowering maintenance turnaround times, which keeps aircraft cycling through routes without costly delays. Airlines pressure manufacturers to design components like this for line replaceability, so maintenance crews can swap parts in hours, not days, preserving utilization rates above 14 hours per day.
Just a few more.
Even the window size has commercial logic. Smaller windows mean less fuselage cutout area, which keeps the pressure vessel stronger with less reinforcement. That allows thinner walls and lighter frames, which saves fuel. This is why budget carriers often use narrower windows. It's not cruelty, it's cost control. Similarly, the doors, floors, and overhead bins are designed as modular panels, so airlines can rapidly reconfigure cabins between seasons or route types. Denser layouts for high-demand short hauls, roomier layouts for premium heavy long hauls. This agility is core to their revenue strategy. Faster reconfiguration means faster adaptation to market shifts. Landing gear and tires are another overlooked marvel. Airliner tires absorb impacts at over 250 km/h while carrying up to 20 tons each, yet they are inflated to nearly 200 psi and reused for hundreds of landings. Brake systems use carbon composites that operate at temperatures hot enough to glow red on touchdown, but cool rapidly to meet tight turnaround schedules. Airlines track tire and brake wear down to individual cycles using maintenance analytics. Delaying replacements by even a few landings across a fleet can save millions, without compromising safety, because sensors alert crews if temperatures or wear exceed thresholds. This predictive maintenance isn't optional, it's embedded in airline business models. Downtime is revenue loss, so components are engineered for maximum cycles between overhauls. The wings and engines, the most iconic parts of a jet, are masterpieces of compromise. Jet engines are deliberately overbuilt, able to run at partial thrust even if a fan blade fails. But they are also modular, with quick swap nacelles to minimize ground time. Airlines often lease engines separately from the airframes, rotating them across fleets like rental cars. This financial model, called power by the hour, turns engines from fixed assets into variable costs, aligning perfectly with the industry's razor-thin margins. Wings are designed to flex dramatically in turbulence, absorbing energy instead of snapping. Fuel is stored inside the wings not just for space efficiency, but to dampen vibration and balance weight. Engineers model the fuel's slosh and weight distribution in simulations because it affects wing bending and structural stress. Airlines push manufacturers to design wings for higher fuel volume to extend range. Longer routes mean fewer connections, which attract high-value business travelers and command premium fares. Even the engine placement carries strategic weight. Low-slung underwing engines, common on short-haul jets like the Boeing 737, make maintenance faster because mechanics can access them without special platforms. High-mounted engines on some regional aircraft reduce foreign object damage from debris on rough runways, letting them serve smaller airports profitably. It's all market-driven. The hardware follows the revenue opportunity. Inside the cabin, the most controversial design is the shrinking seat. Pitch, the distance between seat rows, has dropped from 34 inches to as low as 28 on some carriers. Passengers see this as cruelty, but airlines see it as math. Every extra row adds thousands of dollars in monthly revenue per aircraft. The trade-off is passenger discomfort, but even that is calculated. Airlines use data from booking patterns and net promoter scores to map how far they can shrink seats before customers defect to competitors. Many push the limits, then upsell extra legroom seats to recapture comfort as a paid product. This segmentation, making comfort optional, is now a cornerstone of airline economics. Even lavatories are shrinking, often by redesigning wall panels to squeeze a few more inches for extra seat rows. Galleys are being reduced as buy-on-board food replaces full meal service. Every kilogram saved Every cubic inch reclaimed feeds into the same equation. Lower weight, more seats, more revenue. This is why modern aircraft interiors feel tighter. They are. All of this design philosophy flows from one brutal constraint. Aircraft are capital-intensive assets that only make money in the air. Every design choice serves one goal: maximize utilization while minimizing maintenance downtime. White paint reflects heat so planes can sit on hot tarmacs without warping seals. Round windows distribute stress, so inspections are faster. Modular cabins, lightweight structures, reusable brakes, leased engines. Every part of a jet is shaped by the tension between physics and profit. Passengers see a graceful machine gliding through the clouds. Airlines see a finely tuned revenue engine, engineered down to the rivet to keep flying as much as possible for as long as possible. And that's the paradox of modern aircraft design. What looks elegant is really an industrial organism, evolved not for beauty, but for survival in one of the harshest markets on Earth. Most passengers see flight attendants as smiling service staff, but to airlines, they are frontline safety strategists, carefully trained observers who watch everything from how you lift your bag to how your eyes move.
Thank you. Welcome.
Long before takeoff, while passengers are still boarding, cabin crews silently scan for red flags.
Are you feeling all right today?
People who appear sick or impaired.
Me,
passengers who struggle to stow bags, which hints they might not handle an evacuation well, or anyone acting agitated or aggressive. These observations aren't casual. They are documented in safety reports. Crew are trained to discreetly relocate or even deny boarding to high-risk passengers because an evacuation must move at 90 passengers per minute to meet safety certification standards. From the airline's perspective, removing one potentially disruptive person is cheaper than risking a 200-passenger evacuation failure that could trigger lawsuits, regulatory penalties, and public backlash. Crew behavior itself is also meticulously engineered. Every greeting, smile, and gesture is part of a psychological framework called calm authority. Airlines know passengers mirror crew emotions.
I don't want any trouble.
Anxious crew can trigger mass panic. That's why flight attendants are trained to smile even during turbulence.
So
Projecting control keeps passengers docile and reduces the risk of stampedes or interference. It's not just kindness, it's behavioral containment. Crew are drilled in nonverbal de-escalation techniques, conflict diffusion, and situational awareness. These soft skills protect operational flow and protect the brand. A viral video of a crew meltdown can erode millions in market value overnight. So airlines treat emotional regulation as an operational competency.
I am sorry,
Small etiquette rules
really
passengers ignore are actually safety policies in disguise. The armrest belongs to the middle seat passenger because they are boxed in on both sides and need more space to pivot out quickly in an evacuation. Asking to change seats before takeoff is often denied not out of stubbornness, but because aircraft balance is calculated for takeoff weight distribution. Airlines file weight and balance data before departure, and sudden seating shifts can require recalculation, delaying pushback and burning gate slots. Even the way crew walk the aisles, light, wide stance, one hand on seats, is trained. It lets them stabilize without grabbing overhead bins, which could dislodge bags and injure passengers. These patterns are invisible to most travelers, yet they are choreographed routines shaped by years of incident analysis. Cabin hygiene myths hold their own logic. The tray table, statistically the dirtiest surface on the plane, is rarely deep cleaned between flights because tight turnaround schedules make that impossible. Instead, airlines focus cleaning on touch points linked to infection clusters, lavatory latches, overhead buttons, armrests. Blankets and pillows on short-haul flights are often just refolded, not laundered. This sounds careless, but from a business standpoint, full sanitation on every flight would add hours of ground time, cutting daily aircraft utilization and eroding margins. Many airlines instead rely on sealed packaging as proof of cleanliness, offloading the actual hygiene responsibility to third-party laundry vendors. It's an optics game. Visual cleanliness satisfies passengers enough to prevent complaints, which protects net promoter scores and shields the brand from reputational risk. Food safety policies follow the same strategic logic. Crew meals are stored separately from passenger catering, and pilots are required to eat different meals from each other to prevent simultaneous food poisoning. Airlines don't advertise this, but it's enforced company-wide. If one pilot gets sick, the other can still land the plane, protecting both lives and schedule integrity. Flight attendants rotate meals as well, and catering systems are barcoded to trace any contamination incident back to its source. This traceability reassures regulators and insurers, again, not just about safety, but about liability containment. Even beverage carts are weight optimized. Airlines have replaced glass bottles with aluminum or plastic to shave kilograms, saving fuel. What looks like simple drink service is a carefully engineered supply chain, refined to serve maximum passengers with minimum weight and spoilage cost. Passenger behavior can actively disrupt this choreography. Reclining your seat during meal service forces attendants to reposition carts, slowing service and risking spills, which prolongs aisle blockages. Overusing call buttons during turbulence pulls crew off jump seats, endangering them and delaying service recovery. This is why crew are trained to triage requests by urgency and to delay non-essential tasks when seatbelt signs are on. Airlines quietly monitor passenger behavior patterns through post-flight reports and customer feedback to refine crew staffing levels. On routes with historically disruptive demographics, such as party-heavy holiday flights, airlines schedule extra crew to absorb the workload and reduce incidents. It's risk budgeting in human form. Even the in-flight announcements passengers tune out are strategic behavior cues. Their tone and cadence are tested in simulators to reduce panic and improve compliance. Airlines tweak script wording through passenger focus groups to balance authority with friendliness. When attendants demonstrate seatbelt fastening or oxygen masks, they are subconsciously signaling leadership, showing passengers whom to follow in an emergency. Psychologists call this preloading obedience. Airlines invest in it because real evacuations are chaos, and every second saved reduces injury claims and hull loss costs. The calm you feel in the cabin is partly manufactured by design. What passengers rarely realize is that the cabin is a behavioral economy layered on top of a safety machine. Airlines monetize compliance indirectly. Smoother passenger behavior means faster service, quicker boarding and deplaning, fewer injuries, and higher schedule reliability. That reliability protects revenue streams from punctuality-based incentives, crew duty limits, and gate slot penalties. In this sense, etiquette isn't just politeness, it's operational lubricant. Airlines know that when passengers behave predictably, the machine runs profitably. So when you see a flight attendant smile while strapping in for turbulence, or politely refuse your seat swap request, understand the strategy beneath the gesture. Every action you see in the cabin has been tested, timed, and optimized, not just to keep you safe, but to keep 180 strangers functioning as one disciplined system inside a flying aluminum tube. It's not just hospitality, it's behavioral engineering, and it's one of the most powerful and invisible forces keeping modern air travel on schedule. For many passengers, cruising altitude feels like a safe, frozen limbo, smooth, silent, and distant from risk. But the truth is that the atmosphere above 30,000 feet is a living battlefield of physics, and aircraft are engineered to survive it with almost paranoid redundancy. The most common hazard is turbulence, and it's not random chaos. It's the result of conflicting air masses, jet streams colliding, warm thermals punching upward through cold layers, or air shearing off mountain ranges. Pilots can often predict turbulence from weather radar in upstream reports, but clear air turbulence strikes invisibly, usually at the edges of jet streams. It can throw a wide-body jet into a violent drop with no warning. This is why seatbelt signs often stay on long after takeoff, and why crews beg passengers to stay buckled even when the cabin seems calm.
Please keep your seatbelt
Airlines have
fastened
learned
for
the
your
cost
safety.
of complacency. Turbulence is the leading cause of in-flight injuries to passengers and crew,
Ladies and gentlemen,
and every
please
injury
remain
can trigger
seated and keep your
compensation
seatbelts
claims,
fastened.
delays, and expensive diversions. Lightning strikes are another misunderstood threat. Modern jets are hit on average once a year, but they're built to channel the energy harmlessly through an aluminum skin and dissipate it at the tail. The electricity arcs around the fuselage, never entering the cabin thanks to conductive bonding strips and static wicks on the wingtips. These systems are checked constantly because a single crack in the conductive path could force an aircraft out of service for days. Airlines treat lightning resilience as critical infrastructure. Every grounded jet is lost revenue, so designs are over-engineered to survive strikes without even delaying the next departure. This strategy is baked into aircraft certification rules, which require proof that a lightning hit won't disable electronics or ignite fuel vapors. It's not superstition, it's economics. Pressurization is equally strategic. At cruise, the outside air is so thin that your blood would literally boil without a pressurized cabin. Aircraft maintain an internal pressure equivalent to about 8,000 feet above sea level, which is low enough to reduce stress on the fuselage, but high enough to keep passengers conscious. If the system fails, oxygen masks drop automatically, giving passengers about 15 minutes of breathable air, long enough for pilots to dive to 10,000 feet. This emergency descent profile is drilled repeatedly in simulators because hesitation costs lives. But there's an economic side too. Pressurization cycles are the main source of metal fatigue. Every takeoff and landing flexes the fuselage like a balloon. Airlines track the number of pressurization cycles per airframe, and many retire jets not by age but by cycle count, selling them to cargo carriers or converting them to lower cycle routes. It's life cycle cost control in disguise as safety. Even the shape of doors and windows reflects lessons from catastrophe. The square windows on early jets like the de Havilland Comet caused metal fatigue cracks that led to mid-air breakups. Now every window is rounded to distribute stress evenly, and the door frames are oval with locking plugs that seal tighter as pressure increases. The tiny hole at the bottom of each window equalizes pressure between panes, so the outer pane bears the load. These are microscopic details, yet they prevent multi-million-dollar disasters and keep maintenance turnaround times short by allowing fast part swaps. Airlines push manufacturers for these design standards because they reduce unscheduled downtime, which destroys profitability. Safety and commerce have been welded together. Passengers often wonder why cabin lights dim for night takeoffs and landings. It's not about mood, it's about vision adaptation. If an evacuation is needed, passengers' eyes are already adjusted to darkness, so they can spot illuminated exit signs quickly. Window shades must stay open during these phases for the same reason. Crew need an instant view outside to detect fire, debris, or fuel leaks. These rules seem ceremonial, but they shave seconds off reaction time, and seconds are everything. Faster evacuations mean fewer fatalities, fewer lawsuits, and faster aircraft recovery. Airlines quietly analyze evacuation drill data the same way they track fuel burn or on-time performance, because safety speed directly protects the bottom line. Environmental conditions create subtler hazards. The air at altitude holds less than 20% humidity, drying eyes and sinuses, which contributes to headaches, fatigue, and the muted taste of airline food. Cabins are cooled to about 20°C to counteract the heat of hundreds of bodies and electronics, and to reduce fainting incidents that can cause costly diversions. Airlines have experimented with humidifiers and higher cabin pressure to improve comfort, but these add weight and maintenance costs, which erode fuel efficiency. Instead, most choose to tolerate some passenger discomfort because the savings outweigh the complaints. Even cabin climate is a profit calculation, enough comfort to avoid medical events, but not enough to burn extra fuel. The ritual of turning on airplane mode seems outdated, but it has logic. Hundreds of phones trying to connect at once during climb can flood nearby cell towers, triggering regulatory fines and distracting crews with interference reports. The real purpose of airplane mode is to eliminate variables during the sterile phases of flight, takeoff and landing, when even small distractions can snowball into errors. Airlines prefer predictability over risk, and removing passenger electronics from the equation is part of that control. What ties all of this together is a brutal truth. In-flight safety isn't just about protecting lives. It's about protecting the operational system that produces revenue. Turbulence protocols prevent injury claims. Lightning protection prevents delays. Pressurization design prolongs airframe lifespan. Dimming lights accelerates evacuation and preserves the aircraft as an asset. Airlines track every near miss and build policies not only to avoid disaster, but to avoid cost.
So as you can see, this
Safety in this context is also financial performance. So when you sit buckled in at cruising altitude, lulled by the hum of the engines, know this: the calm you feel is manufactured. Around you, the air is hostile, the metal is straining, and the systems are working in layered silence to keep physics at bay. Every procedure you see, the seatbelt sign, the oxygen mask demo, the lights dimming, is part of a global choreography honed by accidents, rebuilt by data, and refined by accountants. It's not just about survival. It's about keeping the entire machine, metal, people, and money, moving safely through the sky. For passengers, luggage feels like an afterthought, just bags tossed into the belly of the plane. But for airlines, it's a high-stakes logistical ballet where minutes, meters, and kilograms can determine profit margins. Every checked bag must be tagged, sorted, security screened, and loaded in a sequence that balances the aircraft's center of gravity. This isn't guesswork. Airlines use weight and balance software to model the plane as a lever, calculating how much weight each whole compartment can take without tipping the nose or tail during taxi. Even passenger seating is part of this balance equation, which is why seat changes before takeoff are often denied. If too many people shift forward or aft, it skews the pre-filed weight distribution and forces a recalculation, which delays pushback and burns gate slot value. A grounded aircraft earns nothing, so precision wins over convenience. The baggage system begins long before passengers board. Bags enter a labyrinth of conveyor belts and scanners designed to read RFID tags and barcodes at lightning speed. Security systems screen for explosives, but they also check density profiles. Oddly packed bags can trigger manual searches that slow the whole chain. Airlines pressure airports to streamline these checks because misrouted or delayed bags cause missed connections, hotel vouchers, and compensation claims. A single lost bag can cost an airline hundreds of dollars. Multiplied across thousands of flights, baggage mishandling becomes a multi-million-dollar leak. That's why major carriers now embed GPS trackers or partner with smart tag services, letting passengers track bags via mobile apps. It's not just customer service, it's loss prevention, reducing the volume of claims that eat into razor-thin margins. Loading itself is an exercise in choreography. Ramp crews use bag bins, containers called unit load devices, ULDs, to group bags by destination and weight. These ULDs are loaded front to back and bottom to top in a strict sequence calculated to trim turnaround time. The goal is to unload arriving bags and load departing ones within the same 30-minute gate window, allowing the aircraft to launch its next revenue cycle on time. Airlines even track individual ramp workers' speed using scanners to log how fast they load bags. Faster crews get priority shifts, slower ones are retrained or reassigned. It's not cruelty, it's industrial efficiency. A 10-minute delay on the ramp can ripple through the network, missing departure slots and forcing costly fuel burn as aircraft idle waiting for clearance. Fueling, another invisible part of logistics, is tightly integrated with luggage planning. Fuel adds massive weight. 1 liter weighs nearly a kilogram, so dispatchers calculate the exact fuel load to cover the route plus mandatory reserves. Loading too much burns fuel, carrying the extra fuel. Loading too little forces diversions. This balance is so delicate that even baggage counts influence it. If a flight departs with fewer bags than expected, dispatchers may reduce fuel to match the lighter takeoff weight. Airlines obsess over this because fuel is their second largest cost after labor. A few hundred extra kilograms per flight adds millions annually in waste. That's why boarding is often paused while ground staff recalculate loads. They're syncing bag weights, passenger counts, and fuel targets in real time. The belt loaders, dollies, and tugs you see swarming in aircraft are timed like a pit crew. Catering trucks dock at the rear door, fuel hoses plug into wing tanks on the far side, while baggage teams work the belly, all at once, but never in each other's path. This separation isn't just safety, it's throughput. Airports charge airlines for gate occupancy by the minute, and every extra minute erodes margin. Some carriers now use turnaround coordinators armed with tablets to time each task down to the second, from cargo door open to last bag loaded. These micro-optimizations have real impact.
But
Shaving 5 minutes off every turnaround can free an extra flight per aircraft each week, worth millions in added revenue. Despite this precision, bags still go missing, and the reasons are often strategic as much as accidental. Airlines sometimes short-ship bags from tight connections, choosing to send the passenger without the luggage to preserve on-time departure stats. From their perspective, a delayed passenger is worse than a delayed bag because late departures can cost gate slots, disrupt crew schedules, and trigger government fines. It's ruthless logic. The system prioritizes metal over belongings. This is why baggage insurance and tracking devices are quietly recommended by industry insiders. Not because the system is broken, but because it's built to favor punctuality over personal property. Carry-on policies tie directly into this logistics puzzle. Overstuffed cabin bins slow boarding, forcing gate agents to valet check bags at the jet bridge. These last-minute checks disrupt the baggage sequencing, often delaying pushback. Airlines now use AI cameras at boarding lanes to count how many personal items each passenger carries, triggering extra charges if limits are exceeded. It's not about punishing travelers, it's about controlling boarding flow. Boarding delays compound into missed departure slots, which cost more than the bag fees ever earned. The bag fees exist partly to shape behavior. Fewer bags means faster turns, which means higher aircraft utilization, which directly drives revenue. Even the design of baggage hold serves commercial logic. The cargo doors are sized for containers that match global freight pallets, allowing airlines to slot courier shipments alongside passenger bags.
Get those containers
Belly
ready.
cargo can generate up
Copy
to
that.
10% of a flight's revenue, especially on long-haul routes, and airlines prioritize it over checked bags when weight limits tighten. This often angers passengers but makes financial sense. Freight contracts pay guaranteed rates, while passenger bags don't. It's another hidden hierarchy. Luggage moves when it doesn't threaten revenue cargo. Ultimately, the baggage system is not a customer service. It's an industrial pipeline grafted onto a passenger experience. Airlines design it to be just reliable enough to avoid backlash, but fast and cheap above all else. Every barcode scan, every container position, every kilogram logged in the weight system is part of a larger equation. Keep the aircraft moving. Bags that miss the plane are rebooked, rerouted, and delivered later because the machine prioritizes aircraft utilization over individual satisfaction. So when you watch ground crews tossing bags on the tarmac, remember this: it's not chaos, it's choreography. The system may feel impersonal, but it's tuned to keep billion-dollar assets in motion. To airlines, your bag is cargo, and cargo is weight, and weight is money. Everything else, the sympathy, the apologies, the tracking apps, is theater layered over an engine designed to do one thing: never stop moving. The moment your wheels touch down, the aircraft's job ends. But the travel industry's machine is only just beginning. Airports are designed to funnel passengers seamlessly from secured airside zones into commercial ecosystems. Car rentals, taxis, trains, duty-free shops, and tourism pipelines. This transition isn't accidental, it's engineered to capture spending. The walk from gate to curb is deliberately lined with retail and advertising, because studies show passengers are most receptive to impulse purchases within 90 minutes after landing. Airports and airlines profit share this revenue, meaning your arrival behavior directly fuels their balance sheets. Even the baggage claim layout is strategic. Long wait times increase, dwell time in retail zones, while carousel placement nudges you past high-margin stores. What feels like downtime is monetized psychology. Stepping outside, the transport options waiting for you are part of the same choreography. At destinations like Hawaii, the iconic yellow taxis aren't just tradition. They're the result of exclusive airport concession contracts. Taxi companies pay steep fees to hold curb space, and in return they operate as de facto ambassadors, shaping first impressions of the city. Airports earn millions from these concessions, while rideshare vehicles are often pushed to distant pickup zones to protect taxi revenue. Even the color and branding of cabs are curated for visibility in chaotic curbsides, reducing congestion and speeding passenger flow, which protects the airport's throughput metrics and keeps airline schedules on track. What seems like a casual choice of transport is part of a regulated supply chain designed to extract value from your arrival. Tourism
So if we
boards,
route through
airlines, and
there,
local
we could
governments
pick up some of the
collaborate
demand.
behind the scenes to shape
could
your
also
next choices.
reroute.
At beach destinations like Hawaii, signage and marketing inside the terminal are carefully selected to funnel travelers towards sanctioned attractions, surf schools, luau shows, hiking permits, rather than informal local vendors. This protects tax revenue and controls crowding at fragile sites. Airlines quietly benefit too. They use tourism demand data to plan seasonal route capacity. A spike in surf school bookings this quarter can trigger more direct flights next quarter. These feedback loops are deliberate. When you book an activity after landing, you're sending demand signals that ripple back through airline scheduling algorithms and airport slot auctions. Even the beaches themselves are part of this economic architecture.
Wow,
Tourists
look at
assume they're just
that.
natural spaces,
Unbelievable.
but local governments spend millions replenishing eroded sand, managing lifeguards, and enforcing surf zone safety rules to keep them marketable. The white sand at Waikiki, for example, has been imported from other parts of the Pacific multiple times. This maintenance is treated as infrastructure because the beaches are the linchpin product that fills the seats on inbound flights. Airlines don't just sell transportation, they sell the dream of that beach towel photo, and they compete
I know, right?
ferociously to own it. Routes to Hawaii are among the most capacity-sensitive in the world. A single percentage drop in hotel occupancy can collapse airfare yields, so carriers monitor tourism data as closely as weather forecasts. On the consumer side, passengers have learned to game the system for cheaper flights, but even this behavior feeds the machine. Travel blogs advise clearing browser cookies, searching in incognito mode, booking at dawn, or using VPNs to spoof locations for better fares. Airlines publicly deny price discrimination, but internally they use dynamic pricing systems that analyze demand curves minute by minute. If searches surge from one region, fares there climb. If interest drops, prices fall to stimulate demand. Savvy travelers exploit these fluctuations, but airlines still win overall. Dynamic pricing lets them sell the same seat at dozens of different prices, maximizing revenue per flight. This is called yield management, and it's why no two passengers on your flight pay the same fare. Budget travelers often combine these hacks with hidden city ticketing, long layovers, or secondary
Okay,
airports.
so if we adjust these routes
This
based on
behavior
new
forces
occupancy
airlines to
forecasts,
respond
we
with
should
their own
optimize our load
strategies,
factors.
Yes.
restricting
and avoid
certain fare
unnecessary
classes from
operational
earning
costs.
miles, blacklisting serial hidden city travelers, or adding capacity at secondary airports to dilute competitors' yields. What looks like a cat and mouse game is actually market equilibrium in motion. Every passenger trying to save money is part of the pricing feedback system that keeps airlines profitable. Your individual behavior is a data point in their revenue model. Even at your hotel, the airline's shadow lingers. Many carriers operate loyalty partnerships with resort chains, allowing passengers to earn miles for booking rooms and rental cars. These alliances tie your post-flight spending back into the airline's ecosystem, extending their profit window beyond the airport. Airlines call this share of wallet. The more of your vacation they control, the more predictable their revenue becomes. This is why airline websites now resemble travel agencies. They're trying to capture your entire journey, not just your seat. By the time you're lying on a volcanic beach watching surfers carve across turquoise waves, the system that delivered
We
you
can
there
adjust the
has
flight path
already
here
started
to
pulling
avoid
you
storm
back.
cells.
Yes.
The
and tourism
algorithms are
data
tracking your
suggests an
return date,
alternative route will not
calculating
impact
when to
arrivals
send you
significantly.
promotional fares for your next trip. The airport is restocking its duty-free shops based on what your flight cohort bought on arrival.
We can
The
adjust
airline is
flight path
adjusting
here to
next
avoid
season's
storm
schedule
cells.
based on
Yes, and
hotel
the tourism
occupancy
data
forecasts.
suggests an alternative
You
route
think
will
you've
not
escaped the
impact
machine,
arrivals significantly.
but
I
you're
think
still
this version
inside it.
is clearer.
That's the secret of post-flight
Yes,
travel.
the flow is...
Your journey doesn't end at baggage claim. It simply shifts from aviation logistics to tourism logistics.
It's a
The
great way
same
to earn
forces
extra
that
miles on
launched
your
you into
next
the
trip.
sky are now orchestrating
I'm
your
not
spending
sure
on
if
the
I'll use
ground.
it enough to
To
justify
the
it.
industry, you are not just a passenger, you are a moving revenue stream, passing through interconnected networks designed to extract value at every step. And every sunset selfie, every booked tour, every impulse souvenir is another signal that keeps the global engine of air travel turning.